Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing something really interesting. We're going to be reviewing the band Sevendust, and I also want to say this is the second band I've reviewed from Georgia, with Norma Jean being the first, and these guys are from Atlanta, Georgia, and let's just get into it, starting with the self-titled debut. This is going to amazing. Released in 1997. Solid album. Solid album. Like, Black is a fantastic track. Same with Bitch, Too Close to Hate. I also really like Prayer. Every other track on here is like an 8 out of 10, but those 4 tracks are excellent. Strongly recommend checking out those 4 tracks. But next up, we have Home. This was released in 1999. And this album is going to perfection. I love this album, from the opener of Home to the closer of Bender featuring Chino Marino. I love it. Some of the best tracks on here, like Denial, Waffle, Licking Cream, the aforementioned Bender. I also love Feel So, Crumpled, Grasp, Reconnected, and Head Trip, and the title track is amazing. Excellent album. 10 out of 10 album. This is like one of the best new metal albums ever, in my opinion. And I strongly recommend checking it out. Next up, we have Animosity, released in 2001. This album is also going to perfection. I'm debating if I should put it above Home or under Home. Like, these two are on the level of each other. I think I'm going to put it slightly above Home. I'm just feeling it right now. That could change later in the video, though. But excellent opener with TOAB. I also love Praise, Trust, Crucified, Xmas Day, Dead Set, Shine, Follow, Damaged, Live Again, Beautiful, Redefine, and Angel's Son. Excellent album. Excellent album, honestly. Like, especially Angel's Son. That is in dedication to Lynn Strait, by the way, who sadly passed away in a car accident in 1998. And this is also another track that was featured on Straight Up. If you want to check out that video, check out my Cold Chamber and Snot ranking. But both versions are excellent. Both versions are on the level of each other. In my opinion, no matter which version you prefer, both of them are on the level of each other. But next up, we have Seasons. And this was released in 2003. And this is going to... great. Very solid album. Like great opener with Disease. Enemy is a 10 out of 10 track. Same with Broken Down. I also really like Skeleton Song and Face to Face as well. However, though, the rest of this album is more like 7 out of 10. It's just kind of boring in places, like with Seasons, like with Seasons, Separate, Honesty, Disgrace, Burned Out, and Suffocate and Gone. Not bad by any means, just maybe a touch forgettable, if that makes sense. But next up, we have Next. And everything I said, every negative thing I said about Seasons transfers over to this album. This album's going to good. Decent opener with Hero and Ugly. Pieces is also pretty good. Silence is my favorite track on here. That is a light 8. This Life is solid. Same with Failure and See and Believe and the last song and Destination and Never and Shadows and Red. Solid album, but a touch forgettable. I would say the only track worth checking out from this one, in my personal opinion, is Silence. But if you love this album, good for you. I just think this is my personal least favorite, though. But that's just my opinion. Still a good album. Next up, we have Alpha. And this album is going to... Fantastic, actually. Excellent opener with Death Star. That is a 10 out of 10 opener. Clueless is a solid track as well. I also like Driven, Feed, and Suffer, and Beg to Differ, and Under. And Story of Your Life is another 10 out of 10 track. Confessions of Hatred is the weakest track on here at a solid 8 out of 10. But they pick it right back up with Aggression and Burn. Two 10 out of 10 tracks. I also love Alpha as well, like Killer Closer. Excellent album. Excellent, fantastic album. One of the most underrated in the discography, in my opinion. Seriously, check this one out. But next up, we have Chapter 7, Hope and Sorrow. And this album is going to the top of good. A bit of a step down from the last one with Alpha. I think Chapter 7... Like, there's still some pretty solid tracks on here, like Inside Enough. My two personal favorites, though, are Hope and Contradiction. Hope features Mark Tremonti. That's a really solid track. Scapegoat's also solid. Same with Fear. The Past featuring Chris Daughtry is also solid. I also like Prodigal Son and Lifeless and Sorrow featuring Miles Kennedy. Pretty solid album. The two tracks I really recommend that you check out from here, though, are Contradiction and Hope. But every other track is solid. It's not a bad album by any means. Oh, and this was released in 2008. And Next was released in 2005. And Alpha was released in 2007. But next up we have Cold Day Memory. And this album is actually going to the top of fantastic. I love this album, and this was released in 2010. Excellent album from the opener of Splinter to the closer of Strong on Broken. The only track that I think is slightly weaker than the others is Better Place. Thirsty. But I love tracks like Splinter, Forever, Unraveling, Last Breath, Karma, Ride Insane, Confessions Without Faith, Nowhere, Here and Now, The End Is Coming, and Strong on Broken. Very close to perfection. I just think there is another album that does what Cold Day Memory is trying to do just a little bit better. And that is the next album, Blackout the Sun. This album is going to the bottom of perfection. It's not quite as good as Home and Animosity, but it comes very, very close, though. Like, seriously, 10 out of 10 opener with Faith, with the combination of Memory, that's an instrumental interlude, and Faithless. I also love Till Death, Mountain is a bop, Cold as War is a banger. Same with the title track, and Nobody Wants It, and Dead Roses and Decay is a magnificent single. I also love Dark AM and Picture Perfect. I even love Got a Feeling and Murder Bar. I think this is a perfect album from beginning to end. Maybe not quite as good as the top two because this one just lacks that legendary status, at least in my opinion. But it comes pretty close. It comes pretty damn close. But next up we have Time Travelers and Bonfires. And this album is going to... I'm feeling the top of great. Solid opener with Come Down and Under It All. The Weight and Upbeat Sugar are two 10 out of 10 tracks. I just like One Life and Bonfire. And then, this is a fully acoustic album, by the way, so half of it is new material. The other half is covers of old stuff. Like, Gone is a cover from Seasons. Denial is a cover from Home. Trust is a cover from Home. Same with Crucified. Karma is a cover from Cold Day Memory. And Black is a cover from... They're self-titled, and they're all acoustic versions. And all of them are excellent. This is an excellent little acoustic album. I really recommend checking it out. And this came out in 2014, and Blackout the Sun came out in 2013. But next up, we have... Kill the Flaw, released in 2015. And this album is going to amazing. I would even say slightly above the debut. Like, solid opener with Thank You, Death Dance. Every track on here is like a 9 out of 10. It doesn't have the highs of the debut, but I think it's overall more consistent than the debut, if that makes sense. Like, every track is on par with each other with Thank You, Death Dance. I also rather enjoy Forget, Letters, Cease and Desist, Not Today. Chop is a really fascinating track. I also like Kill the Flaw, Silly Beast, Piece of Destruction, and Torched. Silly Beast is probably my least favorite, but it's really not that far off from the rest, though. A very consistent album that is worth checking out, at least in my opinion. But next up we have All I See Is War. And this album took everything that Kill the Flaw was trying to do and just does it better. This is going to fantastic. I would even say above Alpha, right behind Cold Day Memory. Excellent opener with Dirty and God Bites His Tongue and Medicate and Unforgiven. Those 4 tracks are 10 out of 10. Perfect way of opening this album up. Sickness is a solid track. Cheers is another 10 out of 10 track. Risen is a solid track. Moments is another solid track. Same with Not Original and Descend. But then we pick it right back up with Life Deceives You and The Truth. Both 10 out of 10 tracks. Like, this album is almost on par with my top 3. And is almost on par with Cold Day Memory, but it has like 4 tracks that aren't 10 out of 10, where Cold Day Memory only has 1 track that isn't a 10 out of 10, at least in my humble opinion. But next up we have Blood and Stone, released in 2020. Oh, and All I See Is War was released in 2018. And this album is going to the top of good. Solid opener with Dying to Live. Love is a pretty interesting track. I also like Blood from a Stone. But then we kind of drop it in quality a little bit with Feel Like Going On, What You Become, and Kill Me. And nothing left to see here anymore. But it picks back up with Desperation. I also really like Against the World as well. And the Soundgarden cover, The Day I Tried to Live. Some really great tracks on here, but also some just good tracks on here. Kind of like a 50-50 split. I would consider this album like a C+, personally. And this was released in 2020. But next up we have Truth Killer, released in 2023. And this album is going to great right behind Bonfires and Time Travelers. Solid opener. Well, no, I'm not gonna lie. The opener I might let the devil win is the weakest track on here. It's just kind of dull and boring, especially in its first half. The second half it does pick up. Solid follow up though with Truth Killer and Won't Stop the Bleeding is a fantastic track. Everything's a 10 out of 10 track. No Revolution is also a fantastic track. Sick Mouth is decent. Same with Holy Water, Leave Hell Behind, The Superficial Drug, and Messenger. Picks right back up at the end, though, with Love and Hate and Fence. Fence is the other 10 out of 10 track on here. Like, the 2 tracks I recommend you check out from this album are Everything and Fence. Both 10 out of 10 tracks. Fence also has a great video, too. Please watch the video for Fence. Pretty please do that. But next up, we're going to get to their newest album, released this year in 2026, with One. And this album is going to the top of amazing. I like it slightly less than Alpha. It's on par with Alpha, but I prefer Alpha just slightly. But solid opener with One and Unbreakable. Is This the Real You is a 10 out of 10 track. Same with Threshold. We Won is a solid track. Construct's a 10 out of 10 track. Bright Side is my least favorite at like a solid 8. It's still good. It's just not as good as the rest, in my opinion. The Drop is a solid track as well. That's like a 9 out of 10. Blood Price is a 10 out of 10. I love Blood Price. I also love Misdirection. I like that this track is about, I believe, Clint Lowry. There we go. Clint Lowry wrote this. And it's about him finding spiritual enlightenment in Christianity and being a born again Christian, but the way it sounds so ominous and creepy. It almost kind of reminds me of like Korn's daddy in a weird way, but not nearly as like traumatic and not having that as big of a mental breakdown, if that makes sense. But that should do it. Tell me if I got it right. Tell me if I got it wrong. Tell me your Sevendust rankings in the comments below. I would greatly appreciate that. Tell me your favorite songs from Sevendust. Tell me your least favorite songs from Sevendust. And my personal favorites from Sevendust are probably Angel Sun, Dead Set Praise, and Denial, Waffle, and Head Trip. I also really like Till Death, Faithless, and Till Death, Faithless, and Faithless. I also really like Karma, and I love Dirty. Those are my personal top 10 tracks. But tell me your favorites. Tell me your least favorites. I would greatly appreciate that. And all of you, have a great day, a great weekend, and a great week. I will see all of you next week. And if you have anything to say about the next band you would like to do, drop it in the comments below. I might review it, honestly. Oh, and if you like what you see here, feel free to drop a like. If you want to see more, drop a subscribe. I usually post videos once a week. And take care, everyone. I'll see all of you next time.